Alright guys, so this is part 2. This is where we do the texture atlas and we do the mask layers for different objects. So far I just put a customized checklist that I made, and you can find this customized checklist inside the Studio Pro layout package. The link is in the description for the whole layout. So I just went to the editor and I'm changing it to default to show you that the difference between default and when you put the resolution of your texture, and it becomes clear. So I'm just showing you where the texture is right now, and now what we're gonna do, we're gonna split the door because I don't really want to UV that. I don't want the application to UV that door for me. I'm going to hand UV that myself. So we're going to split that door and bring it down and just rename this to room door. So now we have done that, since I put my texture on and I set it in a tiling way, now the issue is going to be is where when I bake the texture, something is going to happen, which I'm glad that I did, because this teach you that when you're dissolving, the lines become it doesn't lose its shape, but it go and depend on another different line. So it would be squinchy, or it would mess up the texture a bit. So that's just something to keep in mind. That is a good tip. So what I'm doing now, I'm just gonna bake it and show it to you. And I'm gonna hit single texture, and I'm just gonna uncheck replace objects and hit bake. So what I'm baking now is just a fast speed build. Boom. So if you notice, like I was saying earlier, we have blurriness now, and we don't really want that blurriness, to be honest. We really don't. And the problem is I'm making it clear, and now we have the stretchiness going on, but it's not really that. It's just that these two polygons are depending on something, because we dissolve lines off of them and they're depending on something else. And to fix that is we'll have to split it and make it be its own object. So that's what I'm doing now, and we're gonna perfect split it because we're gonna combine it later on in the future. So now I've done that, split it, and I'm just gonna call that walls 2. And now when we do redo it all over again, everything should be fine and perfect to get rid of that stretchiness, because it's just depending on another shape of the cube. And now see, we have our perfect shape, and which is what we wanted. So now what I'm gonna do is I am going to select these textures and start applying them by holding control down. So I'm just duplicating them and just dragging them onto all the different assets. Because now what we're gonna do is, after we then set the tiles and stuff like that correctly, we going to select them all and then duplicate them and then put that as a backup. So now we have our roof, but I think it's too much resolution, so I'm just going to make a little difference by going to the tile, and I set it to cubic, so that's why it looks so perfect. So now what I'm doing is just looking around and seeing what I really do want large. So now if you notice, I'm just selecting them all, because now what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a backup of that. Okay, so now I'm going to the vents, and I really want to have control over my my vents area where the grid is. So I'm just gonna perfect split them. Just deleting. So we got these screws here for the pipe, and I'm gonna keep them separate too, so I took them out. So we need to select them what we really want happening. So now I'm gonna rebake them over, and this time I wanted to replace objects. My texture resolution sampled into 1 and pixie board at 3. And now I can save it as a PSD file. I give it a name, I put it on my desktop. And now we can pretty much move on, and we can give it a name. We can name it as fuse. And I'm hit bake. So because we made a backup of our save room, we now could just have this as our custom. So now the bake is finished, and it only took like 39 seconds for each object. So the render was really pretty much quick. I just skipped it, and now I'm just deleting what went onto the nodes. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down material and go to the editor, and then turn it into a 4K because that's the resolution of the texture. And if you notice, our walls is even not messed up like how it was before earlier. So now what I'm gonna do is, because we're gonna merge them in later on in the future, and if you notice, boom, and select these two and connect and delete. That's so easy. The buttons is right there for you. That's why I really like this layout. And right now I'm in the Object UV editor, and if you miss an X out of this, all you have to do is just generate the Studio Pro layout over. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start making mask layers, and we're gonna start by going to a new one, making a new. So we're gonna go to File, New Texture, and just name this save room mask layer, sorry. And make sure it's set to 4K. Alright, and just hit OK. Okay, so now if we start off with the roof and with the floor and the roof, you notice we have our shapes that what the big object did. So now we are now going to select them, make a new layer, and then we're going to copy that and paste the name in there. And now I'm just gonna set some settings for my size. Now with the size, you can actually put that to 3, just to keep that in mind, to let you know. Put that to 3 really, because you're gonna have some seams. But I put it to 2 so you just see what I'm seeing. So I'm just gonna be giving it different colors, and then we're gonna be filling the polygon. So I select them all, and or select all button, and just fill polygon and outline polygon. So it's outlining, which is pretty nice. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the walls, and I'm going to copy that name, and I'm going to select them all and go into the layers, and now I'm going to apply it again, press paste, and do the same thing. So you're just gonna keep repeating it over until you get through all the objects. Just to keep that in mind, and you're just gonna keep doing it over and over and over until I get through them all. So I'm gonna make a new layer, select them all, go to it, and add a new layer. And do the same thing. So I'm just gonna keep going and keep going, keep going and keep going. So just getting them all in and just keep changing them different colors. Okay guys, so I'm wrapping it up now, and now we can start heading on building up our level. Since we now have our texture atlas and our mask layers that we just made with the big object, and then we went into the object UV editor with the Studio Pro layout, and since we have our mask layers now, we could basically start building it up, which I'm doing now. So see you in part 3, and I hope that this tutorial was really helpful to you and how you can utilize this in your projects. So thanks for watching guys.